Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are descending into the tropical paradise. You can see a curious guest that came out of the woods to check on my truck right after I parked. And in the driveway there is already Barbara waiting for us to show us around her house and tell us about the troubles that she experiences with it. We have fairly mild temperatures and humidities outside because this is the 3rd of March. We can see the main residential building on a plane of a cross that was built in 1960s and a slightly taller addition that was built later in 1970s. This was a home of a very famous architect who practiced in Miami, who designed and built it themselves. And it's surrounded by a lush, mature vegetation.
I have a lovely mid-century house that was built in the 1960s that has some condensation problems.
And when is it that you discovered them?
It actually started right after I purchased the house in 1998. And I suspect that some renovations I did were done improperly and that those were a primary or at least a contributing cause.
And what were these renovations that you suspected were the cause of your problems?
Originally, there were drop ceilings that concealed the true ceiling. They were drop ceilings that were ventilated. Air flowed through them. And we removed those and put in a second layer of ceiling, and in that we put hi-hats. And the hi-hats broke through the original insulation, which I think created basically a path for hot, humid air to get up into the ceiling. It took me a very, very long time to diagnose that. Then it was complicated in the bedroom, which had severe dripping problems, by the addition, I believe, by the builder of Visclean in between 2 layers of ceiling, which we discovered within the past year.
We are in the living room. Tell me what's bothering you here.
Well, this room is not the worst, but I do get mold on occasion on the ceiling panels. It's cleanable and it never seems to be really terrible in here, but it does occur, and I'm not quite sure if it's condensation or if because the roof is older now, if I have a little, some small leaks. I'm not sure.
And what is this white board that we see here on the ceiling?
So here's an example of it. It's more or less something like this. It's a white
acoustic panel.
Okay, is that what that is? Okay. It's about, what's up there is 1 inch thick, and it's quite old, and it's still in good shape, basically. So unfortunately, I didn't take pictures when there was a lot of evidence, because I've been up there cleaning the ceilings. But right there you can see a little bit. You can see a...
Okay, I can see that. There is a little bit of cracking, a little bit of discoloration.
And if you look very carefully, you can see where I've cleaned, because there are some lines in there. It's not...
So this is the area where you have the masking tape.
Well, there I was getting ready to paint, but up in the middle there, I've cleaned off, a film, a film of mold, and then there was quite a bit in here as well.
I see.
Most of which cleaned off, but there's still, some staining left.
So it looks like it's either mold or dirt that got attracted to the wet areas.
Well, that could be.
Moist areas, but it's definitely easy to see with that lighting.
That it almost always seems to be beneath the rafters as opposed to in the center. There was some in the center, but not as much.
Okay.
But this is not the worst room. Now, this room, this here, let's get some light. Not a lot of light in here.
I can bring some more lights here.
This room is distinct in the sense that, well, this is an addition, so it's not identical, not identically constructed. He put a vent on the ridge here. I think it's a diffusion vent because there are no soffit vents.
Right, there is
And there too, you can see, that it gets dirty up along near the ridge. But it's cleanable, and there's never I don't usually get an overwhelming.
And this addition was built when?
Oh, good question.
1970s, is that?
I should know that, but I can't tell you off the top of my head.
But it's been here for
It's been here
decades,
for a long time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to guess the 70s, but if the stained glass is an indication, but I'm not sure.
Excellent. Okay, so at the end we would walk around the house and I would ask you to show me the vents outside because that's also interesting.
Show you the what?
The vents, the grills of
okay.
vents outside.
So I'm trying to think which bathroom. Let's look at this bathroom first, I guess.
Okay.
But the house, it's like a mirror, each side. Now that damage there has been there since I bought the house. And it really hasn't gotten worse in that spot, I don't think. This might be new.
Okay.
So in here, in this hallway, and in the bathroom, we had drop ceilings that came to here. Oh, I could show you exactly what they look like upstairs in the addition because they have that same construction. So there were these white, I can't turn on the light in here because.
Oh, and here we have some exposed area.
Yeah, so this, so the original, I have the 5.5-inch joists, I believe they are, that were filled with rolled fiberglass. And then on top, there was the white fiberglass panel. And then lights were hung from there, and there was the drop ceiling. So basically, that fiberglass panel finished this room just the way it does in the other rooms. So here, I did the same thing in this bathroom as I did in the one on the other side. In both cases, we took out the drop ceiling, and we added the framing so that we could put in drywall and hi-hat lights. And those because of the little bit of space there, the workers broke into the fiberglass bat, and so the hi-hats extended up almost to the roof deck, and definitely made a hole in the enclosure. And so when we finally took this out just a couple of weeks ago, that interior ceiling was soaking wet. I mean, dripping wet. The small miracle, of course, is that it didn't rot all the wood, but I think that's because he used such good wood. So the challenge now is to figure out, how to reconstruct it. My plan was to put drywall back up, but when I looked at how that worked in the other bathroom, I realized that was not a great plan.
Before we go over, I can see that almost a new exhaust fan with a duct sitting here, the black one in the middle of the what was previously ceiling. When was that installed? Was it approximately at the time that the hi-hats were installed?
No, there was a fan. It was located right there. And it sort of curved around over here. There, when we opened it up, there was a huge gap because they had connected it with, you know, some paper tape that just broke down over time. And so that seems to have been spewing hot, humid air into the roof.
In the kids' bedroom, we have like an internal gable wall with the air supply register. I can see water droplets on it, which is fairly symptomatic, and around it, those acoustic panels are fairly dirty.
Here again, I think the ceiling may be what do I want to say, plywood on top of the acoustic. I think this one is a hard one.
And we have a couple of similar locations here along the ridge. At one location, the beauty strip actually seems to be dislodged and hanging by the bottom fastener. Okay, so what else is interesting in this room?
Well, as I said, I'm guessing that this is plywood. Any place where he put plywood, he would have done after he did the rest of the house, I presume. So, and it's in the master bedroom where we'll go next, which we'll see in a minute, that where he had the Visclean. So there may be Visclean up here.
If they were consistent in the way they produced it.
Well, right.
Okay, so here we have like a mirror condition with traces of previous explorations. Let me guess, there is an identical air handler behind the jalousie door.
Or similar air. I mean, do you want me to open it?
Okay, with a similar perfectly clean air filter facing the jalousie.
In here, we tore it open. We found holes in the
Visclean?
in the exhaust vent. There was no Visclean in here, but I had the 2 layers of sealing effectively, and it was also, you know, there was a lot of evidence of moisture. It wasn't as soaking wet as on the other side. This we did about a year ago.
You mean the ceiling?
Yeah, we took everything out. We put rock wool. We replaced the 1-inch fiberglass, and then we added that second layer of sealing.
It looks like it's a peeling away coating.
Right.
And what surface are we looking at?
That would be that fiberglass panel.
The one that's above the current ceiling level.
Correct. And then
so the facing of the acoustic panel is peeling away.
And basically what it showed is that inside the ceiling is delaminating and just falling apart.
Oh.
So it's hot and humid up there.
Okay, let's move to the other bedroom.
And then here's where this is where I first saw trouble. So right after we did, oh dear, it is dripping here. So in here, oh look.
And it's actually
This is the first time.
water running on the surface of the wall from that wall register. Oops, losing my balance here. Let me see if I can get a good Glass and water are two things that are really difficult to capture on photographic media.
I'm sure.
Okay, so
So
tell me more
now
about
in
it.
here, if you look up at the beam, you can see the drip marks.
Yes, I can see them
And
quite
so
clearly.
basically, shortly after we did the changes in the bedroom, I mean in the bathrooms and the hallways, I saw the dripping in here. And I called out the roofer who had just put on a new roof, and I said, you know, there's a roof leak. And he accommodated me and changed some of the roof and said, lady, you don't have a roof leak.
And when was that?
Oh, that was
1998?
yeah. Well, the roof was 1998, and he came out shortly thereafter. And we just could not figure out what was wrong. Finally, I tore the ceiling out in the center, I don't know, a few months ago, maybe a year ago, I forget. And it was also soaking wet, with very little damage to the wood, miraculously. But and it dried out very quickly. Oh, but we had changed one other thing. We had changed this wall, and when we put back insulation, we put very light insulation in there, so it looked like there was a spot, and it was not filled well at all near the top. So it looked like there was a spot where lots of hot air could just flow up in there. And then there was this viscline they had added, which we had no idea existed. And so basically we had this piece of plastic full of water, and it dripped off the edges of the plastic down the beams.
So is this where the picture was taken with the exposed area where the viscline
Yes.
was
Yeah.
discovered below
Yeah.
the mineral wool?
Yeah, so it was,
Which field was it?
which what?
Which field, which panel was it?
Oh, it was the whole thing,
The whole thing.
the whole center.
And how was it reassembled?
So it was reassembled with rock wool R23, which is about 6 inches deep, and then 5/8 inch of rock fawn, which is more or less equivalent, I think, to the fiberglass. I only did it thinner because that's what was available at that moment. And that's it. So here you can see evidence of condensation up there, which may be related to the AC, but I suspect that this has more to do with what I did over there. But I'll have to hear from you if my suspicions have any merit or not.
What we see here is a couple of stains, similar, a little bit of delamination here, right?
Right.
Similar to what we saw in the living room on those acoustic panels. And then there are stains on the wood in what is here like an inner gable right next to the AC grill. Is it the return air grill, or is it supply?
That's supply.
That's a supply. And do we see the duct leading to the supply from the other side?
No, you can't. The duct is up under here. We did look in there recently, and as far as we could see, there were no breaks.
Uh-huh. So those holes here that are patched, those are access holes that you made in order
We
to
did that
access above the
just to
ceiling.
look up there and make sure these hi-hats weren't breaking the seal.
Uh-huh. And how is it connected to that space above the...
Good question.
Okay,
We
so,
did fill that there.
so
I
it is
don't know.
connected. Just judging by the meticulous feel of the mineral wool.
But I think it might stop behind there. I'm not 100% sure.
And here we have another supply. This is, let me
Right.
guess, this is just a single duct with a branch
So it's just like one long line with three supplies. Sorry. Yeah, three supplies. 1, 2, and then the third is over
And the
here.
third is on this side. Okay, here I see. And where's the air handler?
Right here. Oh, these are geothermal. I don't know if that has any
Oh,
relevance.
okay, so here we have a air handler.
And I also added that extra ceiling there. So I probably have the same, issue up above that.
Okay. So it's pulling air through the jalousie door from that hall and pushing air through those 3 supply registers
Right.
at the top. Okay,
And
excellent.
then there's an identical configuration on the other side. Nearly identical.
Where is your clothes dryer?
So here's the clothes dryer.
Okay, so I see the door separating the garage, or quote-unquote garage area, which is now like a technical area, from the living area. And I see there is a louver, but there is no glass.
Right.
How
And it's very
how
often open.
it remains open? Okay.
And in fact, and very often I also have my windows open when it's nice out.
Right, so what I see here is the duct, which goes somewhere vertically. I guess it forms a stack, and this is the one that we will find on the roof.
Right.
Then there is also something that resembles a central vacuum system.
Right. Which we never use.
Ah, you never use it. But it's connected to the
still
same
connected,
exterior
yeah.
duct. And what days you normally run the
What
clothes? What days you normally run the dryer?
Which days?
Or there is no regular
There
schedule?
is no.
Okay. So what we see here is the back wall of the living room. We are standing on exterior of it. And I previously asked you about those vertical panels on the facade.
You mean the exterior
Siding,
siding
yes.
is T111, I believe it's called, and it's cedar, I'm pretty sure.
So I don't see any vents in the overhang, in the wall, which is a good thing. I see a piece of plywood installed in the transom of the door.
That's a hurricane thing that we never took down.
From the west side.
That vent should go to the upstairs bathroom. There's an upstairs bathroom there.
So what we see here is there is one vent in the overhang, and right next to it I can see there is
Yeah, that was a exterior light that broke off during a hurricane.
Okay, so let me just make sure that I capture it and still have it in focus. We have another bathroom in the addition as well.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Upstairs there's a small bathroom with an exhaust vent.
So I don't see any damper though.
I
So
don't think so.
it looks like any air that's outside can enter the interior when the fan is not operating. And then in the addition, I saw there was at the top of inside there was like a small vent
Correct.
developed in the ridge. So where is it connected to?
Well, That I believe would be, there is a,
Okay.
and I would say the condensation is less of a problem in that room than the rest of the house.
Okay, so
I think that
let's
was, I'm guessing that was his attempt
let's
to
move
correct.
around. Let's see this first bathroom.
That one is good to close. Now the dog, so watch your step here. I do have a dog, so I think this area is okay.
No worries.
Okay, so this is, we're still at the addition.
And there are no vents in the overhang that I can see. There's an interesting configuration of the transition between the old roof and the older roof. And then there is a separate, seems like there is a separate package system that's serving the addition.
Very old system.
Okay, and
now we're back to the living room.
And we are on the west side of the living room. That's where we started. Okay, and this is the north side of the house. And from the other side,
we did see this room next, I believe. There was some damage on the ceiling there. That
at this approximate location in the center of the house, after the camera stopped running, I discovered there is one more package air conditioner with the closet unfortunately open to the exterior with such a plywood door, pulling air both from inside and outside.
No.
There's a light fixture in the overhang, which comes in number of 2. The dog would like love to join us.
And then the hallway is right here. Just here, let's see if this is open. Yeah. So that hallway, so, and there's the bathroom across.
Okay, so let's go around and have a look on the outside.
Now we're on the north side of the second bedroom.
And there are no vents here either.
And we come up to our first vent, which is an exhaust vent. This is the exhaust vent from the bathroom where the pipe was wrapped in black insulation.
Okay, so I don't see any damper here either. And then there are no other vents.
No.
There is...
The only other one is one similar to this on the other side of the other bedroom.
Okay.
And this is, this breaks into the wall of the bedroom. And it's a package, you know, an old AC unit.
So this is like redundant for the
Yes.
central system that you have.
Now this is next to the master bedroom wing, which is right in here. Again, there is a package unit, you know, spot here. I think it's airtight, but I could be completely wrong about that.
Do you use it, or it's
No.
not operational?
No, it's not operational. Okay, so now which side is this? This is the south side.
And the second exhaust bath from the second bath
Is right there.
Right here. So it doesn't have a damper either.
Yeah, I don't even know what a damper is, to be honest.
A damper is like a small valve that prevents air from going
Going back the other way.
Either way, but in most cases it's just a one-way valve.
I see.
That prevents backdraft. And in this particular case, in a hot and humid climate, the reason why we care is because it allows the exterior air to enter the interior whenever that exhaust fan is not pushing air
Right.
in the opposite direction. So the time for recap. This was a house built in 1960s and 70s. In those years, people were expected to open their windows to allow for thermal comfort, hence solutions like jalousie windows. This is contrasted with what we see today in, say, air barriers and wind catchers and double seals. You can see a very expanded building enclosure is built on a plan of a cross with multiple sidings with tongue and groove planks, and there is no air barrier whatsoever. There is no blocking above walls in a space above the ceiling. Most materials those days were water vapor permeable, including that asphalt shingle that you see on the roofs, and the only exception that we see is that polyethylene film or Visclean that was installed on the wrong side of the thermal insulation. However, it was also a house of a famous architect who designed it fit for himself and his family, and therefore he added thermal insulation and air conditioning. And this is how we segue into the air conditioning and ventilation. We have 6 air conditioners, 2 of them are not used, 2 of them are split systems, and 1 package unit that was originally designed with the house has an exterior closet. Then we have 6 exhaust fans, 3 at the bathrooms, and also we have a powerful clothes dryer and central vacuum system that's not used, plus the kitchen hood. As you could see, the AC registers of those 2 new systems are placed high overhead, cooling the adjacent surfaces of the ceilings. We also had a look inside their closets. They are very tight, therefore it was unfeasible to seal those closets for possibility of pulling the return air from above the ceiling. And also we had doors that are missing any vents or undercuts at the bedrooms and at the bathrooms where the majority of issues is located. And 1 bedroom door had actual sign "do not open," although I was told that this was just 1 single case. So I chose this building as a very typical textbook example of a house built in hot and humid climate in the era before air conditioning and thermal insulation were considered common, and for decades puzzling their owners and occupants with miscellaneous failures, mostly moisture related, once those 2 and other improvements were added. So the most spectacular telltale signs that there is some moisture issues were the water dripping from AC registers and all kinds of mold and mildew or just dirt trapped by moist ceiling surfaces. This was March, which in tropics is characterized by mild temperatures, comfortable humidities, and what is normally described in the air conditioning parlance as a partial load. You could see by the readings there was slightly more moist inside than outside. Air is supplied by those registers around 55 degrees Fahrenheit. It blows into the space that is closer in, the dew point is in the 60s, as you could see. And obviously there is an issue here. So how do we fix it? Part of the answer is already in the definition, right? We could either increase the temperature of the supply or lower the internal dew point, or perhaps simply deflect the vanes of the registers to deflect that airstream slightly lower away from the ceiling surfaces where it could condense. Now, this entire house was designed and built to let the exterior air through, which means that this moisture load that comes in hot and humid air from outside can easily overwhelm any air conditioning system, or having the humidifier placed in each AC closet would just mean that they would be working around the clock during the winter, spring and autumn. So our recommendations consist of both of attempts to seal the exterior to, first of all, to resist the airflow, and second, to address the humidity inside once it's contained by having it mechanically stroken from the air. We could probably prioritize obviously having an air seal around the exterior door of this exterior air handler's closet would be number one on the priority list. Glazing and closing the interior doors connecting the garage with the interior of the house whenever the clothes dryer is working would probably be the next item on the priority list. Replacing jalousie windows or simply adding storm windows in order to make them airtight would be also very high on the list. And adding air barriers wherever there is a convenient access to the exterior envelope. It would also be important to take care of the internal envelopes, internal pressure distribution, by sealing the air conditioning closets to prevent them from depressurizing the cavities above the suspended ceilings, and also opening to provide the return air path from the bathrooms and the bedrooms whenever doors are closed. Once we take care of this long list of improvements that are related to the air tightness and the air conditioning systems, we would face one last item, which is lower on the priority list because it's less potent source of moisture, namely diffusion. Almost all materials in this building, except of course the polyethylene film, were made of water vapor permeable materials. And therefore, once, for example, it's time for roofing replacement, it would help to add actual impermeable membrane somewhere there, either in the form of a roofing membrane or the underlayment. Whenever there is a convenient access to the framing, inside or outside, behind the siding, there should be a water vapor barrier installed on the exterior side of the thermal insulation. Which could be, of course, a combined function with the air barrier. And during repairs, when certain areas are conveniently exposed, there are other repairs that could be done, such as, for example, improvement on structural attachments of roof rafters by having properly rated connections as opposed to toenails. Also, once the internal moisture issues are tackled, since the roofing system would necessarily be replaced in the upcoming years, the preferred performance characteristic of a new roofing system would be high albedo as opposed to high thermal resistance. In this climate, we could see that this is the primarily energy load, the heat load that comes from the roof. Please do stay tuned because we would like to follow on this project, post the measurements and results once the repairs are done. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked what you see. If you did, please consider donating to our foundation. Bye!